Oh, hello, I didn't see you guys there. So, this is the new studio, and we're finally making use of some of this extra space in Castle Drac, and I'm pretty thrilled with how it's coming along. Let me know in the comment section below, though, is the audio better? Is the visuals better? Do I need to add matte paint to this? Because the reflections are driving me crazy. That's just my opinion on it, though. Like, seriously, weigh in. Obviously, eventually this is going to have cool stuff in the background because that's what all the neat kids are doing, but let's launch right into it. So it's been a while since we've done a Top 5 Friday, and I realized going back through them that we skipped Pistols. How did we skip Pistols? So coming in at number 5, we have this. This is the Nerf Elite Fire Strike. Now this is the orange version, there was an Elite Blue version, and this is essentially just a single shot pistol. It's very simple, elegant in its simplicity, and this one's a little tricked out. But before we launch into why this is our number 5, let's talk briefly about the history of this. So the Fire Strike is just a strictly worse Night Finder, and they've got a lot in common. They're both single shot pistols, 2-dart storage in the front, and integrated flashlights, but whereas this uses a rev trigger almost to illuminate its flashlight, this used just a half trigger pull, which I thought was better and led to an overall much larger, more ergonomic handle, and just made for a better blasting experience. For the longest time, this was the NIC pistol de jour. Very comfortable, very easy to coupler down to 1/2-inch CPVC and make a really slick blaster, all for under $10 that you could use in pistol rounds. However, I do want to talk once more about the history. This is just the second part of the lineage that was started by the TTG. So this Tech Target gun was part of a Target set way back, I want to say, in the early 2000s, and it's a pretty sweet blaster. It's got by far the most comfortable handle, and it still had 2 dart storage up in the front, but it was rebarreled down from micros, which gave it a lot of power and meant that it ultimately made a really nice NIC pistol. So lots of power in this guy, very tough, easy to make speed loaders for. This one's specifically designed for an integrated coupler, which you won't be able to see down that barrel, but very cool blaster, and kind of gives you an idea of the fact that we've been using single shot pistols that have been over torqued for a long time, and sometimes that leads to an extreme. Extremes like this. So this exposed brass literal monstrosity comes to us from New Zealand, courtesy of my friend Frankenzilla Mods. It has a pretty high prime and delivers the hits. It gets a lot of power. It's a really cool single shot pistol from one of the masters of that craft. However, let's return back to basics. So this is what it looks like in its stock form. It just has a top rail, an integrated LED, 2-dart storage, and this one has an Orange ModWorks kit in it, which is now defunct, but that also gives this one a little bit more power. Or not. Jeez, when was the last time we greased this? A little bit better, just needed some breaking in. So it's been sitting in the armory for some time, but single shot pistols have a long history of treating nerfers right, and so we absolutely had to feature them on the list. This is just the most modern iteration, but the Fire Strike is definitely here to stay, and it's pretty cheap. Coming in at number 4 is possibly one of the biggest and baddest of the pistol breed, and there's no secret why. Like, this is a Mega Blaster. It screams Mega aesthetics. Between the white stripes and the bold red and gray colors, like, this is a serious contender. Firing these monstrous darts here, like, wow, just a high caliber entry into the pistol space that can be rebarreled down in 2 ways. The easiest way to rebarrel it down is to cut it down for micros, where you fire 1 micro out of the mega sized chamber. And that's pretty impressive because it gives you a ton of FPS in a 6-shot revolver. NIC wars are losing popularity a bunch, but when this first came out and they were still popular, it was very effective. It was a really cool alternative to, like, your Night Finder overhaul, but a really cool pistol that packs a monstrous punch. It's heavy, it's oversized, you feel like Hellboy wielding it, but it has a lot of modification potential as well. So this is one that I overhauled a little while ago with my friend Avery's cylinder up top, and what it lets you do is fire these gnarly 3-round bursts. So instead of firing 1 dart really hard, you fire 3 darts all at once. Shotgun style. Pow. So this is a pretty cool addition to it. You do have to do some light shell modification, but I tried to make it as sleepy as I possibly could, and the modifications are subtle unless you know that this is supposed to have a big orange front end. But I think that the Mega Cyclone Shock is actually a really, really cool blaster. I love it ergonomically. I love the dramatic flair. It seems very much like either a really cool villain or a really cool hero blaster, but that's just my opinion. It had to come in at number 4 because it's so unique and so different than everything else on the list. Now, number 3 is a lot smaller. Like, actually the smallest.
Drac, what's number 3?
Oh, you mean this blaster? Well, this is my modified Jolt, and the Jolt is just the smallest blaster around, so nothing but micro palm-sized plunger tube and barrel large enough for exactly 1 dart. This one has a recessed barrel to maximize its nothing in barrel length. This is the Bite, and the Bite is just my modified Jolt. It's a really interesting entry into the pistol space, and these days everything's Jolt reskin, but Hasbro pretty much figured out this was an incredibly cheap, easy mechanism to create a catch and trigger all in one system, and it can be inline, it doesn't have to be inline. They've done a variety of different flavors on this system, and it's so cheap for them to manufacture that it winds up everywhere. It winds up in Hasbro movie tie-ins, it winds up being reskinned into other blasters. It's a really, really interesting entrant into the space, and we've had it for so long that at this point, it's adorable. It's the Jolt. It's the smallest platform that you can realistically like pocket wield. There was even one that was specifically designed to be pocket carried. It's just a really funky little pistol platform that packs a mighty punch. Alliteration aside, I'm pretty pleased with it. So, we're going to move on to number 2 because there's really not a lot to talk about. The Jolt is a tiny blaster. It has no features. It has no rail attachments. It realistically doesn't have any sling points. You can kind of clip it onto your loadouts. But that's the Jolt. Let's move on to number 2 because we have a lot to talk about there. At number 2 we have the Nerf Hammer Shot. Now the Nerf Hammer Shot has for the longest time been just the absolute best pistol around. It delivers the hits, it's one-hand wieldable, it's comfortable, it's highly ergonomic. Like, the only downside is this one cloth wrap, but it is here to stay, and it holds 5 shots. Now it's very reliable in that its revolver system rotates on the prime, so it's all lined up. All you have to do is pull the trigger, and it's powerful, and the internals are durable. The strong arm is not going to be on this list because the strong arm is hot garbage, guys, but the Hammer Shot can take additional springs, it can take spring compressions, and it's almost impossible to break this sear between trigger and hammer, and that is what makes it so versatile for modifications. There's a litany of different aftermarket parts for it, which means you can make pretty much anything that you want. So this is the Argonaut 1.0 and this is the Argonaut 2.0. They're very similar builds. They were designed to be my default sidearm during wars, both in SE&C play and abroad, and I got a little bit better at various things when I made the second one, but the first one still just holds this really special place in my heart. Plus, it still hits really hard, which makes it very, very nice. So both of them feature metal trigger sears on hammers, which just means that you can get more power out of them. It also means that if you want, you can fan fire them, which is ultra, ultra slick. Now, they both also have my custom leather wraps. I've been doing this for a long time. I don't see a lot of other people doing this, which is ridiculous because if you remember, my #1 complaint is that this plastic cloth wrap, no bueno. As soon as you cover it up and give it a little bit of tactile feel, it becomes very, very nice. So the sear on this one is the same German metal Hammer Shot kit. However, I Cerakoted it so that it would be blue to match the Gavin Fuzzy 8-shot cylinder. And that's what's really, really cool about the Hammer Shot, is that you can expand its capacity a great deal without having to sacrifice, realistically, any of its performance or any of those ultra slick features, such as the ability to one-hand wield this blaster. Now, I think that they're really great. I think that they're actually a very aesthetically pleasing revolver, what with the cylinder up in the front and a kind of open feel. This one also is pretty slick because it has the Orange Modworks Singapore resin casted nubbin at the top. If you look, the iron sight.
Drac, don't you mean the plastic sight?
No, you know what I mean. Normally it's a safety orange iron sight with a little divot in it. This is so much cooler. It's got a slot that you can put any 3D print filament in to get a little bit of color in there, or you can put a trit in there, which is really, really slick. However, I just really like the hammer shot. The hammer shot has a ton of really good holsters, which means that you can carry it here or in a chest rig. I don't think I've ever seen anybody ninja carry one, but realistically, ninjas didn't ninja carry stuff, so scoreboard. The fact that you can dual wield these gunslinger mode and you can practically continue doing that with each hand means that they can be operated not only together but separately, and it's really, really cool. Like, they're just a very versatile platform. They're good for humans versus zombies due to the front loading feature. They're great for any other Nerf war due to their ability to perform well, and they're a reliable backup if you ever need it, as you can keep them primed and holstered and ready to go. So they're my personal favorite sidearms still. But we have to acknowledge that it is 2018, there are a lot of really cool rifle blasters out there, and only one pistol these days could be considered number one. Let's go grab it. Our number one blaster I've made so much content on that you guys are probably sick of it, but this is the Nerf rival Kronos, and if I stop whacking myself with my Team Red flag long enough, I'd love to talk about it. So this is a $20 entry into the rival space. Now the rival space is the rounds, high impact rounds, or HEREs, and Hasbro decided that omnidirectional ammo was where it's at, so these are a higher FPS, more competitively geared, team-based blaster that really takes Nerf to the next level. They're super cool, they're also super expensive, so having one that's an entry point of only $20, realistically you can get them for like $13 if you wait for the right sale, is awesome. And that's exactly what the Kronos is. So the Kronos has a ton of different add-ons and upgrades because it has a tactical rail up here and in the front, because it has so much easy to remove area up in the jam door area. You can either replace it, configure it, or remove it entirely, which is what I did. And it's actually got some really durable internals, which means that this one has a K26 inside for unlimited power, which means that it's going to deliver the hits. Now this is from Foam Technician because, again, so many upgrades. It's got a speed loader, so that was all 5 rounds loaded into its internal magazine, closed, firing. To get a better grip on it, all you have to do is add one of these aftermarket grips, the best of which are currently being made by my friend Grihas over at Grihas Gear. So I think that this is also an awesome pistol. Now it's great for SE&C play because we allow all ammo types. It would be great for Rival League because it's a pistol that you can realistically holster and draw quickly, but ultimately it's just great for everything. It's a primary class performance blaster that I've seen people rebarrel for darts, load magazines into to turn it into like a pseudo primary, and just as a little sneak peek, I've also been pretty busy making some cartoonishly oversized and very cool modifications to Kronos in my workshop. Gee, I wonder, do you guys have any idea what that gun was from? Let me know, comment section below. And while you're down there, something that's really important to me is I want to know what your top Nerf pistol is. Like, I've given you my top 5. I think that I have really good reasons for all of them. However, my list is definitely not perfect, nor is it all encompassing. It depends on where you play, who you play with, and what your objective is. So, do you have a favorite pistol from your childhood? Is it vintage? Is it Max Force? Is it really cool? Do you have a favorite pistol right now? Are you a competitive Nerfer as well? And if you are, my biggest question is, it really comes down to like hammer shot for 50 caliber darts and ultimate loadout compatibility, or Kronos because you really like Rival and you've adapted to that space. That is my question, that is my list. This has been your Top 5 Friday, and as always, Nerfers, much love, Nerf on, Drac out. Huge thanks to our sponsors, Coke. Coke is never gonna sponsor a video, boys.